Time is 2 o'clock.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the World Today for the week. It is a Southwest Network program of Radio Nigeria Ibadan Zonal Station comprising news, feature and sports. In the lineup, Rivers Assembly brings impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara. Correspondent chronicles health sector challenges in 2025. On the foreign scene, influential China church reports arrests of Christians. US detains Ghana's ex-finance minister. Heart of the Matter focuses on calls for responsibility and obedience for rule of law with regards to federal lands. I'm Chinelu Ubidike and reading with me is
Remy Omolola. You can listen to us on live stream via www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng or watch us live on Facebook at Premier FM 93.5. Nigeria belongs to all of us. Contribute your quota to make her great. Now, the news in full. The Rivers State House of Assembly has presented notice of allegations of gross misconduct against the governor and deputy governor of Rivers State during a plenary presided over by the Speaker of the House, Martins Emewule. The Majority Leader, Major Jack, read the notice against the governor, while the Deputy Leader, Linda Stewart, read the notice against the Deputy Governor. The major points in both notices revolved around non-presentation of the budget, spending state funds without legislative approval, withholding of salaries and funds accruing to the Rivers State House of Assembly, the clerk and the Assembly Service Commission, non-screening of government appointment by entities other than the legitimate House of Assembly, and the demolition of the Assembly complex. The 26 lawmakers alleged that the governor and his deputy have shown that they lack capacity to perform their constitutional duties.
Ogun State's Governor Prince Dakpo Abiodun has congratulated his deputy, Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele, on the occasion of her 60th birthday, describing her as a loyal partner whose contributions have strengthened his administration. In a congratulatory message, Governor Abiodun said the deputy governor has displayed rare leadership qualities. The governor noted that Engineer Salako Oyedele's career as an engineer, administrator, and public servant had been marked by commitment to service, adding that she has continued to inspire women, young professionals, and the people of Ogun State. Governor Abiodun commended her wise counsel, diligence, and collaborative spirit, saying her support has enhanced the stability and effectiveness of governance in the state. He prayed Almighty Allah to grant her good health, renewed strength, and many more years of impactful service.
Deputy Director, News and Current Affairs Department, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, Ibadan Zonal Station, Mr. Adeomi Faniro, has charged members of staff in the department to continue to strive for excellence and maintain professionalism in the discharge of their duties in this new year. Mr. Faniro gave the charge at the first edition of the editorial conference of the department in the new year held at the Studio One Broadcasting House, Dugbe, in Ibadan. He commended the doggedness and commitment of the staff despite various challenges and urged them not to relent in giving their best for the overall success of the department and the station at large. The head of the department reminded the staff of the need to be punctual and always remain at their duty post, as well as the need to be disciplined and respect constituted authority in the department.
Our mandate remains clear: to inform, educate, and enlighten the public with accuracy, balance, and responsibility. This demands prudence in judgment, strict adherence to editorial standards, and unwavering respect for broadcast ethics.
Making a special appearance at the editorial conference, the General Manager, Premier FM Ibadan, Mr. Segun Ogunjobi, urged members of staff to carry out their duties with the fear of God. Mr. Ogunjobi noted that indiscipline, abscondment, and insubordination will no longer be tolerated. The editorial conference afforded the management and the staff of the department the opportunity to review the activities of the last year, as well as deliberate on new innovation that will ensure a successful year.
The controversy surrounding a parcel of land belonging to the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, along the Idiakwe-Basharun axis of Ibadan has taken a troubling turn as alleged land grabbers continue to encroach on the property in defiance of subsisting court injunctions. Despite an earlier public warning by the management of FRCN, reports indicate that activities on the land have intensified, raising fresh concerns over the enforcement of court orders and the protection of federal government assets. The development has further deepened anxiety among stakeholders as illegal structures continue to spring up on a property designated for critical broadcast infrastructure. Correspondent Rotimi Famaki, who visited the land, brings details.
Certain issues over the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria FRCN land at Basharun were aggravated when Radio Nigeria gathered that radio advertisements were being aired for the sale of the land. A development that prompted a statement by the Director General of FRCN on the 6th of January this year, warning against attempts by unscrupulous land grabbers to sell the corporation's property in Ibadan. Findings by Radio Nigeria reveal that the FRCN land is currently the subject of litigation between the Presidential Implementation Committee (PIC) and the legal occupant at the High Court, Ring Road, Ibadan, while a similar case between FRCN and the Oyo State government instituted during the administration of the late former governor, Senator Abiola Ajimobi, is still subsisting at the High Court, Iyaganku. Mr. Femi Olugbade, who is the head of FRCN Investment at the Ibadan Zonal Station, gave further insight into the cases.
FRCN at present did not sell the land to anybody. Whoever has issue on the land should contact the Zonal Director, Radio Nigeria Ibadan. This information has approved shortwave radio for Southwest on that Basharun land, and it will soon be established.
Mr. Olugbade said unknown individuals had continued to erect structures and other infrastructure on the land despite a series of ongoing court cases, existing injunctions restricting such actions. Mr. Olugbade, who expressed frustration over the activities of the unscrupulous individuals acting in disregard of court orders, noted that a content of court suits had also been filed to address the persistent violations.
We have taken the land matters to the court. 2 cases now in court on that land. We have got injunction on that land, but yes, people are still working. We charge them for contempt, and we don't know the reason why they are still working there.
During a visit to the site, Radio Nigeria observed that abandoned landscaping materials, block molding machines, stacks of blocks, temporary storehouse, and iron rods scattered across the land. Aside from the perimeter fencing erected by the unknown individuals, several private structures, a church, and an office belonging to FRCN were marked for demolition. Radio Nigeria also discovered that the alleged land grabbers were attempting to rename the property as Lere Adigun Estate Phase 2. Some shop owners, including Mr. Oyewobi Solomon, around the Radio Nigeria land, lamented the destruction of businesses and properties belonging to some traders who had used part of the land as a temporary trading space in 2025 before a forceful eviction. The shop owners described the actions of the unknown land grabbers as disastrous, warning that the illegal acquisition of federal government property attracts stiff penalties under the law.
Selling of this land is not proper because what belongs to government is government land.
If you get inside now, they have done the road of the place. They have shared it. We are hearing that they want to use it for Lere Adigun Phase 2.
Effort to get the reactions of the Oyo State Commissioner for Land, Housing, Survey and Urban Development, Mr. William Akinfunmilayo, were unsuccessful. In Ibadan, Rotimi Famaki, Radio Nigeria.
In today's Heart of the Matter, the Deputy Director News and Current Affairs FRCN Ibadan Zonal Station, Adewumi Faniran, calls for responsibility and obedience for rule of law with regards to federal lands.
With the recent encroachment on the land of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, which houses the Radio Nigeria's Amuludu FM, Moniya Ibadan, the matter of unlawful interference with federal government's property has once again come under public scrutiny. This followed a demolition exercise carried out by the authorities of Akinyele local government of Oyo State, during which several business structures situated on an allotted portion of the land were pulled down. It is important to state that allocating portions of the land to petty traders was a deliberate initiative by the management of Radio Nigeria. This measure was taken to protect the land from trespassers and land speculators, an approach that for years has helped safeguard federal property from illegal and unchecked encroachment. Despite this, the demolition undertaken after the federal government issued a nationwide warning against the encroachment of its landed properties is not only uncalled for, but also an affront on the federal government. Business owners whose property were destroyed during the demolition and their sympathizers have condemned the action of Akinyele local government, describing it as a dangerous precedent, which, if left unchecked, could spread across other FRCN lands and installations as well as federal government properties throughout the country. These vast lands located across Oyo State and beyond hold significant economic potential for the federal government. The lands could be leased to developers or utilized for major housing schemes that would benefit federal civil servants and other Nigerians. Allowing encroachers to occupy or demolish them at will undermines this potential and weakens the rule of law. The latest controversy in Oyo State involving federal government properties and those of its agencies has once again brought this matter to the fore. The federal government, through the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Shuaib Bagore, issued a stern warning to the public against the purchase or encroachment on certain federal properties in the state. These include lands and facilities belonging to Radio Nigeria, the Africa Regional Center for Engineering Design and Manufacturing, ASADEM, the National Strategic Grain Reserve, and other federal establishments across the Oyo State capital. The message from the federal government was unequivocal. These properties are not for sale, and any attempt by individuals or organizations to buy, sell, occupy, or claim ownership of them is illegal and could attract significant legal consequences. Legally and constitutionally, the federal government is on firm ground under the Land Use Act of 1978 and other relevant provisions which recognize the fact that all lands duly acquired by the federal government across FRCN properties in Bashoru, Moniye, and Alalubosa, as well as federal housing and agricultural estates in Ibadan and Shaki, there is still a visible federal presence in the form of buildings, transmission infrastructure, and administrative facilities. Thus, the issue is not ownership, but rather the management and utilization of these valuable national assets. The federal government must now reclaim, rehabilitate, and put these assets to productive use, as idle lands and abandoned facilities represent missed opportunities for jobs, income generation, and national development. Similarly, the Oyo State government is urged to apply restraint, diplomacy, and respect due process in its dealings with federal lands. Statements or actions that appear provocative can inflame intergovernmental tensions unnecessarily. The Commissioner for Lands and Housing, and indeed other state officials, must always be guided by the legal and constitutional realities governing land administration in Nigeria. The federal government should take inventory of its lands nationwide, secure them, and develop or lease out idle ones. State governments should support such efforts for the collective benefit of their citizens. The call, therefore, is for the federal government to act decisively, transforming its lands into engines of economic growth, employment creation, and national renewal. When government assets work for the people, the entire nation benefits.
That script on responsibility and obedience to rule of law with regards to federal lands was written by the Deputy Director News and Current Affairs, FRCN, Ibadan Zonal Station at Dewumi, Faniro. It was read by Feyishara Owomoila.
Nigeria Police Force Oyo State Command has raised an alarm over increasing cases of drowning across the state, urging residents to exercise caution around rivers, streams, dams, swimming pools, and other water-related facilities. A statement by the Public Relations Officer DSP Olayinka Ayolade calls for a public safety advice. The statement advises religious organizations, particularly those with worship centers located near rivers and other natural water bodies, to adopt proactive safety measures during religious activities. It urges hotel owners, resort operators, and managers of recreational centers to be reminded of their responsibility to ensure that swimming pools within their premises are properly supervised and clearly marked with safety notices. The police advises such facilities to engage trained lifeguards, swimming instructors, and tutors, while ensuring that essential rescue and safety equipment are readily available and functional at all times. It also cautions parents and guardians to be vigilant about the safety of their children and wards.
Nigeria Police Force Oyo State Command has recovered the remains of 5 forest rangers killed at the National Park Service Office, Oloka Orire local government area of Oyo State. This is contained in a statement by the command spokesman DSP Olayinka Ayolade, stressing that the bodies were recovered yesterday evening. Statement explaining that the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State, Mr. Femi Haruna, had earlier led other security chiefs for an on-the-spot assessment of the scene, accompanied by heads of sister security agencies and the commandant of the National Forest Rangers. Statements are that the attackers, numbering about 12, emerged from adjoining bushes, opened sporadic gunfire on the ranger's office, and fled the scene, maintaining that investigation had commenced and credible evidence already yielding promising leads to aid the identification, arrest, and prosecution of those responsible.
Meanwhile, Oyo State Governor Engineer Seyi Makinde has called for calm following an attack by bandits at the National Park Office, Oloka Village, in Orire local government area of the state. Governor Makinde assured that his administration would leave no stone unturned to ensure that such attacks are not repeated. In a statement by the Special Advisor on Media to the Governor, Dr. Sulaiman Olanrewaju, Governor Makinde describes the incident as devastating. He appealed to residents of Orire local government and other LGAs along the state's borders to remain calm as the security agencies have restored normalcy and deployed more personnel to the area.
This is The World Today, the story that made the headlines. Rivers Assembly has begun impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara. Still to come, correspondence chronicles health sector challenges in 2025. Influential China report arrests as crackdown on Christian intensify. U.S. detained China's former finance minister. With these and many more, we will be right back. Do stay with us. Don't go away.
Good to have you with us on The World Today. Stakeholders in the health sector have converged on Ibadan, Oyo State, to discuss the outcome of over 1 decade research project on the exposure of households' air pollution on maternal and child health. The program, organized by the Center for Population and Reproductive Health, CPRH, and Healthy Life for All Foundation, HLF, in partnership with the University of Chicago, was held at the Secretariat Ibadan, Oyo State. Correspondent Lillian Ibomo, who was at the venue of the event, tells us more.
The stakeholders on maternal health and child development stress the need to reduce air pollution to the barest minimum in order to reduce the spread of health-related illnesses. One of them, who is a professor at Friza School of Medicine, University of Chicago, United States, Shola Olakpade, in a keynote address entitled Charity Begins at Home, the need for clean cooking and healthier indoor environment, said exposure to crude methods of cooking such as firewood, kerosene stove, and charcoal were dangerous to human health. Professor Olakpade, who is also the principal investigator, pointed out over a decade-long research showed that women and children were the most vulnerable as they were the direct contact to such exposure, which could lead to asthma, hypertension, and even death.
When we looked at the placenta in the women who are cooking with kerosene and firewood, and compare them to people who are cooking with ethanol, you could see that the babies were developing in a setting where there was low oxygen.
Similarly, a senior lecturer at the College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, Dr. Yetunde Adeniyi, and a professor at the Lagos State University College of Medicine, Lolade Wright, said developmental assessment of every child exposed to crude cooking method were brought for assessment at every point of their development, as against those who used ethanol cooking method and gas to determine the differences in their development. Earlier, a professor of obstetrics and gynecology, Center of Reproductive Health, University of Ibadan, Oladoshu Ojengbede, urged those in attendance to propagate the outcome of the stakeholders meeting, which in turn will lead to practice change in the lives of the people.
We are happy to have everyone from different sectors, different backgrounds. Community members, the ballers were there, the community members were there, health workers were there.
Some mothers who were beneficiaries of ethanol stove intervention, as provided by the investigative team over the years, said the children they raised before being introduced to the new cooking method and had little receptive memories as compared to those raised after. Commissioners for Health, Environment, Women Affairs and Social Inclusion, Executive Secretary Oyo State Primary Health Care Board, as well as representatives of the Olubadan of Ibadan land on ground, all pledged their support to do all they could to ensure a clean cooking environment for a better society. The theme of the stakeholders meeting was outcome of the research on the exposure of household air pollution on maternal and child health. In Ibadan, Lillian Ibomo, Radio Nigeria.
Agitations by the health workers disrupted service delivery at various times in 2025. These and others formed happenings in the health sector last year. Our correspondent Faslat Lawal reports.
Events in Nigeria's health sector in 2025 began with President Bola Tinubu's approval of 2.48 trillion naira for the sector in the national budget. A breakdown of the allocation showed that 402 billion naira was set aside for health infrastructure, while 282.65 billion naira was earmarked for the Basic Health Care Provision Fund. In line with efforts to strengthen specialized health care, the federal government on July 25, 2025 commissioned 3 advanced oncology centers in Katsina, Enugu, and Benin, aimed at expanding cancer care and reducing the burden of non-communicable diseases. Earlier in the year 2025, the sector also embraced innovative technologies, including the adoption of artificial intelligence in both public and private health institutions to improve efficiency and service delivery. However, the year 2025 witnessed setbacks as the United States suspended critical funding for HIV/AIDS programs in developing countries, including Nigeria, raising concerns over sustainability of interventions. On January 19, 2025, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) confirmed 214 cases and 39 deaths from Lassa fever, reaffirming the disease as one of the Nigerian's most persistent viral threats. At the state level, in February 2025, the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company (IBEDC) agreed to restore electricity supply to parts of the University College Hospital UCH Ibadan after over 100 days of power outage caused by unpaid electricity bill exceeding 283 million naira. The resolution followed a meeting involving the Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu, UCH management led by Professor Jesse Otegbayo, and IBEDC officials. In terms of manpower, the year recorded continued brain drain as medical professionals migrated abroad in search of better opportunities, further overstretching the already strained workforce. The sector also faced prolonged industrial actions over government's failure to meet welfare demands. For instance, on July 29, 2025, resident doctors at the Lautech Teaching Hospital, Gbomosho, embarked on an indefinite strike. The action was suspended on October 1st, following assurances from the Oyo State Governor. Security challenges also affected the sector when on October 30th, a consultant neurology at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital in Nnewi, Dr. Tochukwu Mbanugu, was abducted. This prompted the Nigerian Medical Association (NMA) to issue a 72-hour ultimatum on November 1st for its release. On the same day, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors (NAD) commenced a nationwide indefinite strike over unpaid allowances and poor working conditions. The strike was suspended on November 29, 2025, following negotiations with the federal government. Barely days later, the Joint Health Sector Unions, JOHESU, embarked on a nationwide strike on November 15, 2025, over non-implementation of the adjusted COEN salary structure, further crippling healthcare services nationwide. Some residents of Ibadan urged government to adequately fund the sector, improve welfare for health workers, create an enabling environment to prevent frequent industrial actions.
From the doctors to the JOHESU, that's the other staff apart from nurses and doctors, they were on strike all through. And that is a serious challenge to the general public assessing health. I want the government to come in effectively to address the needs of the health workers, the doctors, the nurses, the JOHESU. They should pay them living wages so that they will be able to settle down and give their services from their heart.
The rate at which emergency cases that has to do with health comes up and the rate at which responses are made. Obviously, we still have some of our leaders who still go outside the country for medical aid.
Government should try in that area to assist those that are supposed to be paid to pay their amount so that they can do their job effectively.
In its evaluation of the year, the chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, Oyo State Branch, Dr. Apio Adedakpo, expressed concern over continued underfunding, worsening brain drain, unstable power supply, and poor universal health coverage.
Association of resident doctors were on strike. The national body, as we speak, JOHESU, the non-health workers union of the health sector, are on strike. It's government that will make promises and it's government that will still. In the wake of the Japa syndrome, health workers keep migrating daily. Government promised to actually improve on the welfare of health workers. But right now, what do we get? That general hospitals in a state that don't have one single doctor.
Dr. Adedakpo urged government to properly supervise the marginal increase in the 2026 health budget, which represents about 6% of the total budget, invest in hospital infrastructure, and improve welfare package for health workers. In Ibadan, Fasilat Lawa, Radio Nigeria.
Now to the foreign scene. An influential Protestant church in China says prominent leaders were arrested in what appears to be a growing crackdown on the underground church movement. According to reports, 9 people were detained after police raided their homes and the church office in Chengdu. Report says latest wave of arrests after others last year shows the Communist Party's resolve to snuff out churches that do not align with its ideology.
Ghana's Finance Minister Kemo Afon-Atta, who is wanted at home on suspension of corruption, has been detained by the U.S. Immigration. Ken Ofori-Atta has been in the United States since January last year to receive medical treatment.
The federal government says the Super Eagles match bonuses at the ongoing 2025 Africa Cup of Nations have cleared the necessary regulatory stages. According to a statement by the Minister of State for Finance, Doris Uzoka-Anise, the payments should be reflected in the players' domiciliary accounts starting from today or tomorrow. Report says the Super Eagles yesterday threatened to boycott travel to the host city of their quarter-final match at the AFCON over unpaid allowances.
And now to end the news in the world today from the Soul of Radio Nigeria. Here again are the day's top stories. The Rivers State House of Assembly has presented notice of allegation of gross misconduct against the governor and his deputy. Correspondent chronicled health sector challenges in 2025, which witnessed persistent agitations by health workers. An influential Protestant church in China says prominent leaders were arrested in what appears to be a growing crackdown on the underground church movement. And last we also told you in the news that Ghana's former finance minister Kofu-Atta, who is wanted at home on suspicions of corruption, has been detained by the U.S. Immigration.
That's it on The World Today. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. Mojupe Toba edited. I'm Chinelo Obidike.
I'm Remy Omolola. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Good afternoon.